technically y'all are supposed to be saying that I'm reminding you all that you're not going to move from this area.
Thank you. Seminar.
I'm wondering because he just told me that. So I'm thinking maybe. Can I get my baseball fish? Where? I have a camera. Grab it if you need it. I grab it now.
Okay, I just don't know what side he's going to go off.
Well, yeah. Once you're there, you're there.
Hey, Laura.
It might be fine, but the radio TV guys are like, I can't see. We asked to sit down except for the brown hair girl from the city. But everyone else was like, yeah, yes. Are you on that thing back there?
It is. It's not for
Thank you so much. I'm happy to stay, yeah.
Ricky, we're not together, right? Yeah, it's perfect. We on the air. Here's my book. Bring me back in. Bring me back in. I can talk outside the room now.
Leave it. A. Leave it.
Here, the camera's going off. Talk about suspension. No more than 1 week with FBI investigation. You hear that? Talk of an extension? Yeah. No more than 1 week with FBI. CNN reporting. Wow. That's what we're talking about. That was the compromise.
Where are we allowed to be?
Where do you need to be? Because you're gonna have to stay. You're gonna have to stay where you. Yeah. You
What's
see
the other one look like around the corner?
about the same.
Worse.
I would say worse. You want to try? Just
Let me
pick
look,
one
let
and
me
let's. You can't come back. Hi.
He would love to say hello.
It's my dog's voice. Look at you.
This is exactly what I needed. Right here for you. Anybody else want to say hello to the pup? He's entirely your friend. As you should be. I know.
Gotta make it today.
She's at the back door where the interview was. It's like her door.
Following us?
So they're gonna, yeah, we voted out with the understanding that they will delay it a week, the time vote, for some kind of investigation with the FBI. But they voted it out. They voted already, 11-9, I guess. Voted nomination with the agreement that they won't vote
On the floor.
Right, for a week.
So when do they vote cloture? On Wednesday or something?
They start all the votes after a week. All those
Oh,
votes.
so the cloture won't begin for a week.
They don't vote cloture now because then it would wipe it.
I see, right, of course.
So it's going to be, essentially they're going to do nothing for a week.
They got to
Vote
vote it out
here,
of committee.
just vote out of committee. Then they're
Do
gonna-
they have an agreement with McConnell?
Well, I'm sure that they call, yeah, I mean, all this delay, what they're doing with that thing, they were definitely talking to McConnell. McConnell's people are in there, probably. So they can move around McConnell. So that just means
I
another
just
week.
find hard to believe that McConnell would agree to delay a week.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because Flake is the one that the agreement. Because
So what
he's got,
happened?
because if Flake votes against him, and the two women fall in line instead.
Right.
Donnelly voted no.
Right. But Manchin's a yes.
Well, they always do that.
Yeah, I know.
Why, he should just register as a Republican. Would be over with. I mean, it's because he's West Virginia, you know, and they're like, Trump.
I get it.
And he's thinking to grow a fucking player and do something that's right. He doesn't know what he doesn't agree with all the stuff he does because of political swings.
Amazing.
It's over.
They open up the talk. Yeah.
before the vote was supposed to take place.
I think Senator Flake has done us all a favor, the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Senate, and the nation. This situation merited an FBI investigation. He made a stand calling for it in a controlled period of time on a controlled number of allegations. I think it was the right thing to do, and I applaud him for showing this kind of leadership.
Are there enough Democrats and Republicans who agree with Senator Flake's position
I
for
don't know.
McConnell to not go forward?
I don't know any other senator's position on the Republican side.
This is where you originally work. I get you this.
Oh, I was just originally right here. That was This is my this is how it ended.
Did not know anyone too. You guys get excited.
Aren't you too young for that?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, is he coming out? Gotta get someplace. Somewhere you're not gonna Hey, Senator, can we grab him? Can we grab him? Can we go?
If you're going out, you have to go out and stay out. I would want to do that for the hallway. Laura, you need to come this way. Guys, I'm here.
They all went that way, to the other door,
Or back in the room. Okay. So either back in the room or not.
I got Yeah, stay here.
Yeah, you can't go out that way.
Okay, I'm gonna go get it.
It's like this. Like this.
Yeah, the whole.
I'm just in the all
Everyone besides
Everyone running the back.
Clear the hall, please.
Clear the hall, please.
Clear the hall.
Keep going. You gotta keep going. We'll see that everybody is approaching the scope. Yeah, I think that's
Senator Microphone. We're just making these developments. That just went.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. If what we do is use this for everybody, calm down for a few days. Let the FBI do what they should have done before. Have a real investigation. Then people can vote any way they want, but at least you don't have something hanging out there. Well, we voted, and then the facts came out. Let the facts come out, and then vote. For the sake of a few days on a lifetime appointment, the American public would not understand it all if we rushed through a vote and said, oh, by the way, now we're going to have an investigation.
Is Senator Flake's position a moot point unless Senators Murkowski and Collins go along with it?
Well, if Senator Flake says that he's not willing to vote until they have the investigation, I'm sure there's going to be others in the Republican Party to join with him. I don't think we have to be at that thing. I think let's let cooler heads prevail. That's what it's called, leadership. And let them have the investigation and then have the vote.
Is Flake showing leadership here?
Shake is yes.
Sure, sure. Lindsey Graham's approaching me now.
Senator Graham, can you step in the microphone?
Well, I'll get back with you.
I don't exactly know where it happened.
Chances are going to, that's one of the special we'll get you guys for the end. So I'm just telling you, just be aware. They're still, it's okay. In the pan or closer to it. Just give you a heads up. I know, I understand, but you can't go that way. You gotta go all the way around. That hole is closed. In a pen. Yeah. You can't, there's no escorts to the pen.
That's my background.
Yeah. I don't know how you get to it. When Wheeler calms down a little.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You got it.
One senator in the room. You just walk to the answer. Coons. He's on his phone in the answer room.
Ricky, I'm told Coons is still in the answer room.
And evidence are all uncovered. This FBI investigation cannot be a show or a charade. It must be real, and it must go to the witnesses who are likely to produce facts and evidence.
Senator, is it your understanding that Flake had the assurances of other senators in his party before he decided to make this move?
Senator Flake talked to a number of senators in his own party as well as on our side, and I appreciate that he was seeking common ground.
What can he and his colleagues do if the leadership decides to press ahead with the vote anyway?
Obviously, Senator Flake could vote against the nomination.
Has he told you he would do that?
No, he hasn't indicated to me what he would do, but the incentive for the leadership following his wishes as to the delay is they need his vote, along with all of the other members of the majority. Thank you.
By the way, who initiated these conversations today? Was it him or a Democrat?
I can't give a comment.
Sir, you remember the press? Yeah. Sorry, I just okay. When there's members of my welcome to come up. Okay, fine, no problem. Yeah, thank you much.
Very appreciative of Jeff Flake's initiative to delay this vote. It provides the FBI time to do an investigation with regard to the serious and credible allegations that have been made. I appreciate Jeff Flake wanting to know the facts and the evidence before he votes, which is what every member of the United States Senate should do. And only because the Republican leadership is rushing to judgment is his leadership here so important. But the FBI investigation must be penetrating and impartial and objective. It cannot be a show or a charade. It must go to the witnesses who have facts and evidence that's pertinent to these serious allegations, and it must be given enough time to do that work.
When did you know that Senator Flake had a change of heart? Did he approach you?
You should really talk to Senator Flake about what went through his mind.
The White House still, though, is going to have to ask for an FBI investigation. The president has signaled that he's not really down for that at all. Republicans could still move forward with 50-50 and get the VP to split a tie. So do you think anything's really going to come from this?
The need for investigation, I think, is shared by more than just Senator Flake. I think there are senators on both sides of the aisle that feel additional fact-finding is necessary. The allegations are serious and credible, and ultimately the White House has to respect the Senate in having enough votes to pass this nomination. If there are enough senators who want an FBI investigation, it will happen.
Should the FBI administer a polygraph exam with Judge Kavanaugh?
The FBI will decide what is the appropriate means of investigation. It will decide who the right witnesses are and what way to take evidence. And if it believes a polygraph is appropriate, then it should be done.
Senator, is there a reasonable timeline when you think they should complete it? And
My own view is that an FBI investigation should be done in the time that the FBI thinks it's appropriate to do it fully and fairly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No more trips. You go over there. No reporters. Do not come this way.
Okay. Great. You know what? I was waiting to see it. I know. By a staff person, he's getting compensated. Okay, so we have to be behind the ropes, folks, please.
Ricky Coons is coming to my camera.
We need to be
We're told.
behind the ropes. pressure. Yeah. Be behind those ropes, okay? Keep this, sorry, thank you. Keep this open here.
Down.
I don't want to block my colleagues.
Yep, totally get it. That's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
No, go back.
Mark, go in the hall, please. Ricky Coons is approaching now.
In which I urged my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who know me to consider a one-week delay so that the FBI might more thoroughly investigate allegations that are currently before us. In the course of the unfolding of this day, Senator Flake, with whom I have traveled, with whom I have worked, with whom I have legislated, and whom I have great respect for, asked me to come into the anteroom to talk with him about how that might be made more real. And I'll let, obviously, Senator Flake should speak for himself. But I think he showed courage and determination today in making it public that he will not support moving ahead with a final vote on Judge Kavanaugh on the floor unless there is a brief FBI investigation that is limited in scope and time to the current allegations. It is my hope and expectation that a report from the FBI will be delivered to the Judiciary Committee members to allow them to further inform their vote. This is the outcome of a number of conversations I've had with a number of colleagues in both parties. Several of us in the Democratic caucus have been calling for further FBI investigation of allegations that have been made. And I'll just conclude by saying this. I think yesterday's very long hearing was a difficult day for Dr. Ford, a difficult day for Judge Kavanaugh, and I think it was difficult for the American people to see our Judiciary Committee in the Senate so divided and the tone generally so partisan. What I'm encouraged by is that in a anteroom back-hall conversation, first with Senator Flake and then with Senator Feinstein and then with many other senators of both parties, there was a broad agreement that this committee has been too divided and too partisan in this process, and a hope that by having the FBI look into these allegations for just a few more days, limited in scope and time, that we can both show respect for victims who have come forward with allegations and give Judge Kavanaugh some prospect of his name being cleared in some ways before a final vote, and give the members of the committee and of the Senate some reason to have more confidence before proceeding to a final vote. Any questions?
What happens if the FBI investigation is not completed in 1 week's time? What will happen, based on your conversation with Jeff Flake, what will happen at that point?
Here's what I said I can commit to, because I don't control the FBI and I don't control whether or not other allegations come forward. I will say, and I am saying now, that I'm deeply grateful to Senator Flake and others who I believe will join him in saying that they are not comfortable proceeding to a final vote on Judge Kavanaugh's nomination without a short, additional professional period of investigation. There is understandable concern on the part of many senators in the other caucus that they expressed in our Judiciary Committee meeting that there will simply be additional allegations coming forward. If there are, I think they should be investigated. But what Senator Flake has proffered and what I support is the idea that it should be no more than a 1 week delay before a final vote, and that, frankly, the current allegations should be sufficient for the FBI to give some further input to the members of the committee about whether there are or are not reasons for there to be some cloud hanging over Judge Kavanaugh's nomination.
Can you describe it?
Other Republicans, are you confident there are enough other Republicans to prevent a final confirmation vote from happening Tuesday? So that McConnell would not have to vote absent?
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about that, but I'd encourage you to ask other senators how they'll present themselves. But I think Senator Flake and I, having had conversations with some colleagues, had reason to be optimistic that could be successful.
Can you describe the situation?
Participated in the meeting in the back there. Did they later join?
At some point, virtually every member of the committee at some point was in the back hall.
Were any senators who were not in the committee, such as Senator Collins or Murkowski?
Well, yes, correct. They're not on the committee.
Were they back in the room?
No, they were not physically present.
And were Republicans on the panel?
There were a number of conversations back and
Were
forth.
Republicans trying to dissuade him from doing this?
Of course, vigorously.
Were they called at any point? Are these the
I'm just going to say I've had conversations with a number of other senators, Republicans and Democrats. I've had a number of conversations in recent days with colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, about how could we possibly get to a further FBI investigation to address some of the credible allegations Dr. Ford brought forward without extending the timeline. Because my Republican colleagues, as I'm sure you heard very pointedly, have accused Democrats of simply trying to hold this open past the election. That is not my goal. My goal was to simply encourage a number of friends and colleagues in pressing for the FBI to consider seriously the allegations that are before us.
So I'm confident, and you can answer to the cameras or they'll kill me, but the flip side of that then, are there other Democrats you think who will be willing to drop their or process complaints about this if this FBI investigation is indeed done in the next week? Is that the flip side of this deal?
I would encourage you to talk to other Democrats on the Judiciary Committee. I am certainly coming forward to say that I am grateful to Senator Flake. I am hopeful that the President will direct the FBI to further investigate the allegations that are currently before us, and that I think this was a significant step, and that I am hopeful that the Republican majority will embrace this 1 week pause for a limited in scope additional investigation. It's my hope that a report will be delivered to the Judiciary Committee, minority, and that we'll have an opportunity to question FBI agents who conduct this further background. Let me also say, my predecessor, Joe Biden, longtime senator from Delaware, former chairman of the committee, has been quoted repeatedly yesterday on this point. I recognize the FBI does not present conclusions. They simply present evidence. But I think there's a number of senators who, after Dr. Ford's testimony yesterday, believe that there was significant evidence that had not been thoroughly examined and that should be done. We as senators reach the ultimate conclusions about whether we vote for or against Judge Kavanaugh, but I do think there was enough doubt raised yesterday by Dr. Ford's testimony that a number of senators felt that a further investigation was justified.
Did Senator Flake mention the protesters this morning? Did he say anything about his state of mind and why this came about?
I'd encourage you to talk to Senator Flake. Let me simply say this. Senator Flake is a genuine conservative. He's written a book about the conscience of a conservative. He and I do not share a lot of political views, but we share a deep concern. Senator Flake and I share a deep concern for the health of this institution and what it means to the rest of the world and to our country if we are unable to conduct ourselves respectfully and in a way that hears each other. In the back hallway conversation, a number of our colleagues also had very sharp conversations with each other about some of the partisanship and some of the posturing. And I frankly think that what Senator Flake is trying to do is to both achieve a brief, credible investigation of allegations in front of us and serve as a role model, as he has for me today, of someone who is willing to take a real political risk and upset many in his party by asking for a pause so that the American people can hear that we are able to work together on some things. That even though he and I are from different parties with different values and different backgrounds, we respect each other and we can work together. I have traveled to countries in other places in the world with Senator Flake and know how passionately he feels that our division right now teaches the wrong thing to the world about our democracy and suggests that we are not able to respect each other or work together. If you look at his voting record in the last Congress and mine, they are almost as far apart as they can be. Yet we respect each other and can work together and think that is an important lesson for the world.
What did you say the impact on the institution and the country would be if the Flake did not support a 1 week pause?
So that exactly my concern as expressed in my speech to the Judiciary Committee earlier today. My concern was that by bullying through this nomination without any investigation, it would send the wrong signal about partisanship and leave a cloud over Judge Kavanaugh. Yes. he was in the chamber when I delivered those.
Could you elaborate on those conversations? You said there were some sharp conversations in the back about the partisan
Look,
nature of it.
anyone who watched the Judiciary Committee hearing process yesterday or the speeches before the markup today knows that there are members of the committee who are accusing each other of all sorts of things. My one comment was that Senator Biden, when he was a senator, once said to me, you can always question another colleague's priorities, you can question their policies, but you shouldn't question their character and motives. There is way too much of questioning each other's character and motives, and there were some conversations about how we all need to lighten the extent to which we're going after each other personally. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator.
They're still in the alcove. I just walked away from them because I was listening to the stakeout cameras.
There's no senators left. Okay. Yep, thank you. Yep.
That's it?
I can't promise that. But that's what I was told by the.
Thank you. I'll take my chance. All right. Thank you. You want to? Next week?
John,
Same place?
Probably.
All the senators are coming like this.
There's nobody left in there. Senator-wise.
That's disrespectful.
Keep looking up.
I don't know, you must be talking about something else to say.
Bye-bye.
I swear to God, I'm on one. I'm saying right there, he started to feel it on my tricep. I'm like, come give me that. He was like, you're going to be the first one that can get that. He always lying. I probably asked him. You see? That's different. I wasn't like, yeah, that's why exactly. I was talking to him, really facing him that way. I was. You keep playing, I'm going to knock you out. What we